Right now, on to the point. Another step in addressing homelessness. But is a new safe camping site the answer?
It's always a challenge. These sites are always controversial.
In our series of interviews with candidates for governor, tonight Antonio Villaraigosa shares why he wants the job.
We need a proven problem solver.
A political showdown could be brewing between Congressman Kevin Kiley and Tom McClintock. Political strategists weigh in. And on the back roads.
We'll do anything to be on film.
A quaint town made famous thanks to an iconic 1980s movie.
The city of Sacramento is building on lessons from the recent past. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. The city broke ground on a new safe camping site for people living on the street. ABC 10's Becca Habegger joins us live in studio to discuss the latest homelessness solution.
Alex, city leaders say some people experiencing homelessness have a tough time transitioning from the street directly into an organized indoor environment. They say their safe camping site, now under construction, will provide a low-barrier alternative, one with improvements over previous safe camping spots.
Ground is broken and moving on a safe camping site in Sacramento's River District. The city-owned lot is at 291 Sequoia Pacific Boulevard, surrounded by mostly commercial properties just off Richards Boulevard near I-5 in Discovery Park.
This is an opportunity for us to help folks that are currently living on the streets in the River District get off the streets.
Phil Pluckybaum is the city council member who represents the River District. He says the safe camping site will have space for 100 tents, offering individual raised platforms to keep them off the ground and canopies to help shield them from the rain and sun. Those canopies are a direct improvement upon issues at a previous safe camping site in Miller Park, city leaders say, where exposure to the elements was a recurring problem. Other amenities at the fenced-in site will include restrooms, dog kennels, case management, 24/7 security monitoring, and a robust good neighbor policy.
This is not permanent supportive housing. This is just a place to provide security and storage and some dignity for the folks that are currently living outdoors.
This is just one of several city-owned properties identified and assessed last year for new shelter sites. At a September meeting discussing the sites, neighbors shared their concerns.
It says criminal activity will be grounds for exit. Where will they go? They'll just go back to the neighborhood. It's going to be for up to 120 people, but we have approximately 200 people or more living on our streets. Where are those other people going to go?
Mayor Kevin McCarty acknowledged their input.
There's no perfect location. I know the people in the River District are saying, why here? We need to be everywhere in the city of Sacramento. If you look at the map, we are literally in every district now.
The city says they currently have about 1,300 shelter beds. McCarty says the new sites, including this one in the River District, would bring that number to about 2,300. So long as everything goes according to plan, the city expects to open this site in about 3 months.
3 other vacant city-owned parcels in Districts 1, 5, and 8 are set to become micro-communities. Each will contain approximately 40 tiny home units, focusing on specific populations like unhoused seniors. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. Highlands Community Charter and California Innovative Career Academy are appealing the decision to revoke their charters. Now, school leaders say their governing board filed an appeal with the Sacramento County Office of Education, which now has up to 90 days to review the case, hold a public hearing, and decide whether to uphold or overturn Twin Rivers' decision. If needed, Highlands says that it is prepared to take the appeal to the State Board of Education. This comes after ABC 10's investigation found Highlands received more than $180 million in taxpayer funds it was not eligible to collect. In a statement, Highlands says district staff had recommended keeping the charters in place, citing evidence the school corrected violations tied to governance, instruction, and operations. Meanwhile, Twin Rivers maintains the changes were not enough to ensure long-term stability. ABC 10 will continue to follow the appeals process and bring you the latest updates. Former MLB pitcher and convicted killer Daniel Serafini was sentenced today to multiple life sentences, one without the possibility of parole, for the murder of his father-in-law and the attempted murder of his mother-in-law. In July, a jury found Serafini guilty of first-degree murder and attempted murder for the shooting that killed Gary Spoor and severely injured Wendy Wood in their Lake Tahoe home. Today, daughter Adrienne Spoor called Serafini a monster and accused him and her sister of stealing millions of dollars from her parents. She also said that she lives in fear.
What Dan Serafini did will never leave me. He not only took my parents from me, but he left me with a permanent image burn in my mind. That of my dad, shot in the back of the head, splayed out on the couch in his home, and my mom lying on her back, clinging to life, bleeding out while a sheriff's deputy tried to resuscitate her.
Serafini pleaded with the judge for a light sentence, saying his wife, Erin, the other daughter of Spoor and Wood, who was not present today, is the real victim in all of this. With today's sentence, he will be turned over to the California Department of Corrections.
Yes, please.
Still ahead on To the Point after massive February snowfall. The numbers are in, the results from today's snow survey and what it means for the state's water supply. And a Republican showdown could be brewing right here in Northern California because of redistricting. Congressman Kevin Kiley and Tom McClintock may end up in the same race. Political analysts weighing in tonight.
Yesterday was the warmest day of the year, then today became the warmest day of the year, and tomorrow's likely to be even warmer. So for the third day of the year, we're likely looking at the warmest day of the year. I've got a forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. Former President Bill Clinton was questioned by the House Oversight Committee today. He testified about his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Clinton says he, quote, saw nothing and did nothing wrong. His wife, Hillary Clinton, was deposed by the same group of lawmakers yesterday. President Trump today ordered all federal agencies to phase out the use of Anthropic technology. This comes after the company's public dispute with the Pentagon over artificial intelligence safety. The order came an hour before the Pentagon's deadline for Anthropic to allow unrestricted military use of its AI technology or face consequences. And the CDC says there were more than 1,100 measles cases in the U.S. in just the first 2 months of this year. That is 6 times higher than what's typical for an entire year. The CDC says more than 80% of cases are among children and teens. About 96% are in people who are unvaccinated or not fully vaccinated. Health experts warn the country is on track for another record-breaking year.
Despite last week's major snowstorm, our snowpack is still below average. The Department of Water Resources measured the snowpack at Phillips Station today for the third time this season. The survey recorded 28 inches of snow depth and a snow water equivalent of 11 inches. That is 47% of average for that location near Sierra at Tahoe. Statewide, the snowpack is 66% of average for this state. And on that note, let's get things straight over to meteorologist Brenda Minchef, because we're not looking at snow right now. Well, actually, I guess we are. Sorry, I thought we were starting with high
We're looking at the snow numbers, but you're correct. We're not looking at snow in the forecast. No big storms anytime soon. Those snowpack numbers could be worse. It could certainly be better. 40% of April 1st average in the northern Sierra, 58% in the central Sierra, and 78% in the southern Sierra. So again, could be better. Could definitely be a lot worse. It's important to remember, though, that March is not the end of the rainy season. Things usually start to taper off a little bit, and March can be a little more flip-floppy than December, January, and February, which are, on average, the wettest months of the year. But March in Sacramento, we average about 2.68 inches of rain. That's the 4th wettest month of the year on average. So even though right now it's not a storm, it is not cold, it is not February or March-like at all, it does not mean the pattern will not flip back to be much wetter going forward. So for now, enjoy these very spring-like temperatures. 74 in Sacramento, 76 in Stockton, 77 in Modesto, 78 in Vacaville and Fairfield. It was the warmest day of the year so far for most valley locations, including Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto. Temperatures in the low 70s across most of the valley right now. We'll start off Saturday morning with a little bit of some patchy fog possible, but for the most part, just mostly cloudy. Temperatures in those middle 50s. Check out Saturday afternoon, though. Once again, the warmest day of the year. 77 in Sacramento, 78 in Stockton, 78 Modesto, 78 Fairfield, 77 in Vacaville, mid-50s in the high country. So enjoy the spring-like weather. It's not going anywhere for tomorrow. We'll have some clouds at times on Saturday, But that is not going to stop the warm-up from happening, because we will once again be about 15 degrees warmer than normal. A split weekend, though, because even though we're in those upper 70s on Saturday, it does not stick around for Sunday. We're back closer to seasonal. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Stay with us right after the break. My series of interviews with the candidates running to be California's next governor continues. Tonight, you'll be hearing from Antonio Villaraigosa on how he'd tackle the state's biggest challenges. And then later, John Bartell taking us on the back roads to a charming town where iconic movies were made hundreds of miles from Hollywood. Well, tonight, a potential matchup between Congressman Kevin Kiley and Tom McClintock, both Republicans. It has political strategists now weighing in. So here's the deal. The passage of Prop 50 impacted Kevin Kiley's seat. He represents Congressional District 3. Congressman Kevin Kiley will formally announce on Monday which district he'll be running in, as it's down to District 5 and District 6. Now, District 6 leans Democratic and is already a very crowded race. Congressman McClintock has represented District 5 since 2009 and just formally announced that he will seek re-election. Republican strategist Tim Rosales weighs in on how Kiley's decision will impact voters.
Kevin Kiley, does come from a center-right or more conservative, part of the, kind of political spectrum. He also has this unique ability to communicate with independent voters and even, Democrats who aren't quite satisfied with what's going on. And he certainly has set himself apart on a variety of issues that I think make it, him very attractive to independent and Democratic, voters.
McClintock told ABC 10 in an interview on Thursday, when asked about a possible matchup, that he believes Kiley is desperate.
Desperate people do desperate things, and I think Kevin is desperate at this point. But it's a free country. He has a right to run wherever he pleases. But I am very confident that the support that's already ranged behind my candidacy will be overwhelming.
Kiley declined an interview with us before he makes his decision on Monday, but we will bring you the details. And this June, Californians will head to the polls to help decide who could become the state's next governor, while the final decision comes in November. For now, 9 leading Democratic hopefuls and several Republicans are in this race. To help you get to know them and what they say they would bring to the job, I sat down with the candidates at this past weekend's Democratic convention, and I will also do the same with the Republican Party. To keep things fair, I drew the names at random for these interviews. Meet Antonio Villaraigosa. For people that are meeting you for the first time, why would you say that you're deciding to run for California governor?
I'm a proven problem solver. I've said that this state has given me more than I could have ever imagined. My grandpa came with a shirt on his back from León, Guanajuato, Mexico, with a dream. I tell folks, never in my lifetime did I ever think I'd be Speaker of the California State Assembly or Mayor of Los Angeles. But the one thing I know, we also face big challenges. Challenge number 1 is affordability. Challenge number 2, right with number 1, is the threat to our democracy posed by Donald Trump. We need a proven problem solver. Everybody's going to talk well, including in these interviews, but I'm somebody that's actually done it, and that's what I'm running on.
Now, if you were to be elected, what would be your top 3 priorities your first year in office?
Well, priority number 1 is to make sure that we're living within our means. The next governor is going to face an $18 to $30 billion deficit, according to the legislative analyst. The idea that we just could cut our way out of that is just a pipe dream. Now, we need a grown-up who will make the tough calls, but we also got to grow our economy. We got to address the fact that this is the toughest state to do business in the United States of America. And small business is suffocating in this state. So we got to grow our economy, and we've got to address the big challenges, the challenge of homelessness, the challenge of safety, good schools. We need a governor that's going to focus on the basics. Get, common sense, competence, and a course correction.
What would you do differently to approach homelessness?
I built more affordable workforce and market rate housing than the 12 years before me. So we need a builder. But let's be clear. We can't keep on throwing money at the problem. We have to understand that we need to invest in what works and stop doing what doesn't. I've said I don't believe in criminalizing homelessness. I do believe in compassion, but I don't believe in chaos. And when you're selling drugs in front of cops, that's chaos. So we need an approach that focuses on providing a network of investment in services and housing. But the average house for homeless right now costs $850,000. Reporters can't pay that. Their children can't pay that. So what I've said is tiny homes are being built in LA for $100,000. We've got to be smart about how we expend these resources and not just throw money at the problem.
Let's talk about criminal justice reform. Do you think California has gone too far, not far enough, or has struck the right balance when it comes to criminal justice reform?
I led the fight against 3 strikes you're out when I was in the legislature. I'm against the death penalty, but I tell people, I believe in accountability. When you keep on stealing and you're on drugs and you get arrested and you refuse drug treatment, the first time, the second time, the third time, you're going to jail. That's why I supported Prop 36. You know, we can't be ideologues with these things. The next governor's #1 priority has to be public safety. That means fire and police. We've got to focus on protecting the public, and I will, because I have a record on it.
And we are going to keep these candidate profiles going right here on To The Point, giving you a closer look at the top Democrats in the race. On Monday, we will sit down with Betty Yee, and we are also working to sit down with the Republican candidates as we continue our coverage for the race for California's next governor. All right, it is Friday, so you know what that means. We are hitting the road with Mr. Bartell, a trip to a small town that also is a backdrop for Hollywood with plenty of movie magic and memories. Buckle up because it is time to hit the back roads. Tonight, John Bartell heads to one of Hollywood's favorite backdrops in Oregon.
Hey, you get that away from me! Go join your friends, you wiggles! Hey, you
When the movie The Goonies was released in 1985, it became an instant classic, and fans of the movie fell in love with characters like Chunk, Mikey, Mouth, and Sloth. But there is one crucial character that continues to steal the hearts of movie fans to this day.
Historians, we love being on film. We'll do anything to be on film.
In the 1980s and 1990s, Astoria, Oregon was the hot backdrop for Hollywood classics like Free Willy, Kindergarten Cop, Short Circuit, and many more.
There's been about 30 films over time, going back again to 1909.
Mac Burns is the executive director of the Oregon Film Museum, located inside the historic Clatsop County Jail, a famous film location of its own right.
These are the original jail cells that we're going to go visit, and they were used in The Goonies. This is where the beginning scene is kind of shot right down this hallway.
The longer you animals bark, the colder your lunch gets. Come on, move it out. You two down there.
The small coastal town of Astoria played a major part in the Goonies movie. In fact, the town of Astoria was the very place that the kids were trying to save from rich land developers.
If we don't do something now, there's going to be a golf course right where we're standing.
Filming took place all over town, the schools, the streets, and the bowling alley, which almost was cut out of the movie because of the construction of a nearby McDonald's.
McDonald's was built and they hadn't licensed the sign, and Richard Donner, the director, was supposedly going to scrap the whole scene. He's like, forget it, we didn't get permission. And somebody said, well, what if the kid holds something up and blocks the McDonald's sign?
Since the filming of Goonies and other Hollywood films, movie fans have been making a pilgrimage to Astoria and the Oregon Film Museum.
Last year, 2025, we had 57,000 visitors through this tiny spot.
Movie fans can now take a self-guided walking tour through town or act out a scene in various films at the museum's working movie set and green screen, which might be a great place to reenact the Truffle Shuffle.
First, you gotta do the truffle shuffle. Come on! Do it!
From the Oregon Film Museum in Astoria, I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the back roads.
To find more Bartell's Back Roads destinations, make sure you download our ABC 10 app. They are under the Shows tab. Just scroll down to Travel, and you'll see Bartell's Back Roads, and you can download that app for free straight to your TV. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something that you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. I hope you enjoy the beautiful weather this weekend, and I will see you right back here on Monday.